I'm Robert Mitchell. I'm 68 years old, and those cruel words came from my daughter's fiancé just as I was about to walk her down the aisle. Listen to this story until the end, and please share it with anyone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments which part of this story touched your heart the most, and let me know what city you're listening from. Right now, I'm sitting in my car outside the church, watching through the window as guests arrive for a wedding I'm apparently not allowed to attend. A wedding I paid for. A wedding for my only daughter, Sarah, who I raised alone after her mother died when she was just 8 years old. You know what hurts the most? It's not sitting here in this parking lot like some unwanted stranger. It's not the humiliation of being turned away at the door of my own daughter's wedding. What hurts the most is remembering when Sarah was a little girl, how she used to say, "Daddy, when I get married, I want you to walk me down the aisle and dance with me at my wedding." And I would tell her, "Of course, sweetheart. That's what daddies are for." How wrong I was. My late wife, Margaret, God rest her soul, always told me, "Robert, don't give Sarah everything she wants. She needs to learn the value of things, the importance of respect." But I didn't listen. I thought that by being generous with my daughter, by giving her everything, she would love and respect me when I needed her most. How foolish I was. Just last week, everything seemed normal. Sarah came by the house to pick up some wedding decorations we had stored in the garage. We sat on the porch drinking lemonade, talking about the weather, about her job at the marketing firm, about normal things. Everything seemed fine. Everything seemed like we were a normal father and daughter preparing for her big day. But then Monday came. Sarah arrived at my house with a face I'd never seen before, cold, distant, like she was looking at a stranger. She said we needed to talk. At first, I thought maybe she was having second thoughts about the wedding, or maybe there were problems with the catering, or perhaps her fiancé Marcus was having cold feet. Never in my worst nightmares did I imagine she was coming to uninvite me from her own wedding. But that's exactly what happened. She talked about new family dynamics, about starting fresh, about things I didn't fully understand. The only thing I understood clearly was when she said, "Dad, Marcus and I have decided that we want a small, intimate ceremony. Just immediate family." "But I am immediate family," I said, confused. "I'm your father." And that's when she said the words that still echo in my ears. "Marcus doesn't feel comfortable with you there. He thinks you're too controlling, too involved in our relationship." Too controlling. Me, who worked 3 jobs to put her through college. Me, who never missed a single school play, soccer game, or parent-teacher conference. Too controlling. I got up from this same porch where I'm sitting now and walked to the corner store to buy a soda and clear my head. Mrs. Henderson, who runs the store, saw me and asked, "Mr. Mitchell, how are the wedding preparations going? You must be so excited to walk Sarah down the aisle." I didn't know what to tell her. How do you explain that your own daughter doesn't want you at her wedding? "Everything's going well, Mrs. Henderson," I lied, and she smiled and said, "You raised such a wonderful girl, Mr. Mitchell. You should be proud." Proud. What irony. If this is what pride feels like, I'd rather keep working until the day I die. When I was young, my father told me, "Robert, children are like arrows. You prepare them, give them all your love and wisdom, then shoot them into the world, hoping they'll fly far and high." But he never told me that sometimes those arrows come back and pierce your heart. I've been thinking a lot these past few days about what I did wrong, what I could have done differently. Maybe I was too generous, too permissive, gave her everything too easily. My Margaret always told me that Sarah was very ambitious, very focused on status and appearances. "Be careful, Robert," she would say. "That girl wants everything, and she wants it now." But I thought ambition was good, that it would help her succeed in life, that she would be better than me. And she was right. She was better than me. Better at cutting people out of her life when they became inconvenient. It's getting dark now. The wedding ceremony started an hour ago. I can see the warm lights inside the church, hear the faint sound of music. People are celebrating while I sit here in my car, dressed in my best suit, with nowhere to go. I see an elderly man about my age walking with his daughter toward the church entrance. The young woman is holding his arm, looking at him with such love and respect. I remember my Sarah looking at me that way once. I remember when she was 12 and I taught her how to change a tire. She said, "Dad, you're the smartest man in the world. I hope I marry someone just like you someday." Well, she didn't marry someone like me. She married someone who thinks I'm not good enough for their wedding. But you know what? There's something Marcus doesn't know, something my Margaret taught me before she died. She said, "Robert, in this life, everything comes back to you. The good and the bad. Everything returns." And I've been good my whole life. Marcus thinks he's won, that he's successfully removed me from Sarah's life, that he can control who she sees and doesn't see. He's very wrong. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to stay quiet. And most importantly, I'm not going to let my daughter make the biggest mistake of her life without trying to save her. It's getting cold, and I need to find somewhere to spend the evening, but tomorrow will be another day, and tomorrow I'm going to start doing what I should have done a long time ago. I woke up stiff as a board. I spent the night in a motel on the highway, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. At my age, sleeping in a strange bed is like asking your body to complain all week, but I woke up with a clear idea in my head. I got up early, as I've always done my whole life. The first rays of dawn were peeking through the motel window, and there were already people sweeping the sidewalks in front of their businesses. Working people, like I've always been. I walked to Joe's Diner, the place that's been serving coffee and donuts since 6 in the morning for the past 20 years. I've known Joe since Sarah was in high school. "Mr. Mitchell, what are you doing here so early? Shouldn't you be recovering from the wedding celebration?" Joe asked with a concerned look on his face. "I'm handling some business, Joe," I told him. I didn't want to give explanations. "Give me a coffee and a donut." He served me the hottest coffee he had and gave me the biggest donut in the display. "This one's on the house, Mr. Mitchell. You've always been good people to me. That's how good people are. They help you without asking too many questions, unlike my own daughter." While I was having breakfast, I started remembering how all this began, because things don't happen overnight. This goes back to when Sarah started dating Marcus 2 years ago. Marcus Williams, 32 years old, works at an investment firm downtown. From the first day I met him, something didn't sit right with me. It wasn't because he was successful or because he had money. It was because of the way he looked at me, like I was something beneath him, like I was an embarrassment to Sarah. I remember the first dinner we had together at my house. I had prepared Sarah's favorite meal, pot roast with mashed potatoes, the same recipe her mother used to make. Marcus barely touched his food. He kept looking around my house with a face like he smelled something bad. When Sarah went to the kitchen to get dessert, Marcus leaned toward me and said, "Mr. Mitchell, this house has a lot of character." The way he said character made it clear he meant something else entirely. "It's the house where I raised my daughter," I told him. "It's the house where she learned to walk, to read, to be the woman she is today." Marcus smiled that fake smile of his and said, of course, I'm sure it has a lot of sentimental value." Sentimental value, like the love of a father for his daughter, was just sentiment. After that dinner, things started changing slowly. Sarah began visiting less frequently. When she did come, she seemed distant, distracted. She started making comments about the house being outdated, about my clothes being too casual, about my stories being repetitive. Comments that sounded like they came from someone else's mouth. 6 months ago, I found out something that explained a lot. I ran into Tom Bradley, Sarah's old boss at her previous job, at the hardware store. Tom had always been fond of Sarah, treated her like the daughter he never had. "Mr. Mitchell, how's Sarah doing at her new job?" he asked me. "I heard she's working at Williams & Associates now." Williams & Associates, Marcus's family firm. "She's doing very well, Tom," I told him. "I'm glad she found something that makes her happy." Tom looked at me with a strange expression. "Mr. Mitchell, can I tell you something? When Sarah quit here, she said she wanted to work somewhere more prestigious. She said she was tired of working at small family businesses." Small family businesses. Tom's company, where Sarah had worked for 3 years, where she had learned everything she knew about marketing, where Tom had treated her like family. That night I couldn't sleep. My head was spinning with what Tom had told me. Sarah wasn't just changing jobs, she was changing her values, her perspective on life. The next morning I decided to do something I had never done before. I drove by Sarah's new apartment, the one she had moved to after she started dating Marcus. It was in the most expensive part of town, a place I could never afford even working overtime for a year. I parked across the street and just watched. That's when I saw Marcus come out of the building. He got into a BMW that cost more than I had made in the last 5 years. But what caught my attention wasn't the car. It was the way he was talking on his phone. I could hear him clearly because he was speaking loudly, arrogantly. No, Dad. The wedding is going to be perfect. Small, elegant, just the right people. No embarrassing relatives. No awkward situations. Embarrassing relatives. That's what I was to Marcus. An embarrassing relative. I sat in my car for an hour, thinking about what I had just heard. Marcus wasn't just marrying Sarah. He was trying to erase her past, erase me from her life. That afternoon, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I called Sarah at work. "Dad, I'm in a meeting. Can I call you back?" she said quickly. "Sarah, I need to ask you something. Are you happy?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Of course I'm happy, Dad." "Why would you ask that?" "Because you seem different lately. Distant. Like you're not the same Sarah," I raised. Another silence. "Dad, people change. People grow. I'm not the same little girl who used to play in your garage." "I know you're not, sweetheart. But growing up doesn't mean forgetting where you came from." "Dad, I really have to go. We'll talk later." She hung up before I could say anything else. That was 3 months ago. Since then, our conversations became shorter and less frequent. Sarah started making excuses not to visit. When she did come, Marcus was always with her, and he always found ways to make me feel uncomfortable in my own house. He would make comments about my furniture being vintage, about my neighborhood being quaint, about my stories being charming in their simplicity. 2 months ago, Marcus did something that should have been a warning sign. Sarah brought him to help me fix a leak in my kitchen sink. I had been a plumber for 30 years before I retired. I knew how to fix a simple leak, but Marcus insisted on helping. He stood there in his expensive clothes, holding a wrench like it was a foreign object, giving me instructions on how to do something I had been doing since before he was born. "Mr. Mitchell, you should really call a professional for this," he said. "These old pipes can be tricky." "Son, I've been fixing pipes since you were in diapers," I told him. "I think I can handle a simple leak." Marcus looked at Sarah with that expression of his, that look that said, "See what I have to deal with?" That's when I realized what was happening. Marcus wasn't just trying to win Sarah. He was trying to make me look incompetent, outdated, irrelevant. He was systematically undermining my relationship with my daughter. But I didn't say anything. I thought that if I stayed quiet, if I didn't cause problems, things would get better. How wrong I was. Last month, Marcus made his intentions clear. Sarah came to tell me they had set the wedding date. June 15th, at St. Mary's Church. The same church where Margaret and I got married, where Sarah was baptized. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," I told her. "I'm so happy for you." "Dad, there's something else we need to discuss," Sarah said, and her tone made me nervous. "Marcus and I have been talking about the wedding, and we want it to be very small, very intimate." "Of course, honey. Whatever makes you happy. We're thinking maybe 50 people, just close family and friends." 50 people seemed like a lot to me, but I didn't say anything. "That sounds perfect, Sarah. Do you need help with anything? I have some savings that could help with the costs." Sarah looked uncomfortable. "Dad, Marcus's family is handling most of the expenses. They have different ideas about how things should be done. Different ideas. I should have asked what that meant, but I didn't want to seem intrusive. I trusted my daughter. I trusted that she would include me in the most important day of her life. How naive I was. 3 weeks ago, I found out what different ideas meant. I was at the grocery store when I ran into Mrs. Patterson, our old neighbor. She was excited to see me. "Robert, I heard about Sarah's wedding." "How exciting. I got my invitation yesterday." My blood ran cold. "Your invitation?" "Yes. It's going to be beautiful. St. Mary's Church, then reception at the country club. I'm so honored to be invited." Mrs. Patterson had received an invitation. Mrs. Patterson, who had been our neighbor for 10 years but wasn't family. Mrs. Patterson, who Sarah saw maybe twice a year. I went home and searched through all my mail from the past month. Nothing. No invitation, no save the date, nothing. I called Sarah that night. "Sweetheart, I haven't received my invitation yet. Should I be worried it got lost in the mail?" Another one of those long silences that had become so common in our conversations. "Dad, about that, Marcus and I need to talk to you about the wedding." "What about it, Sarah?" "We've decided to keep it really small, immediate family only." "But I am immediate family. I'm your father." I know, Dad, but Marcus thinks it would be better if we kept it to just the wedding party and parents. Sarah, I am your parent. I'm your only parent. Dad, you know what I mean. Marcus's parents and, well, it's complicated. That's when I understood. Marcus's parents were invited. I wasn't. In Marcus's world, I didn't qualify as a real parent. I was just an embarrassment to be hidden away. Sarah, are you telling me I'm not invited to your wedding? Dad, please don't make this harder than it already is. Harder for who, Sarah? Harder for you or harder for Marcus? Dad, I have to go. We'll talk about this later. She hung up and we never talked about it later. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've been living in a strange limbo, knowing my daughter was getting married but not knowing if I would be there to see it. I kept hoping she would call, that she would come to her senses, that she would remember who had been there for her all her life. But the call never came. Instead, yesterday happened. Yesterday, when I showed up at the church in my best suit, with the corsage I had bought for Sarah, ready to walk my daughter down the aisle. Yesterday, when Marcus looked me in the eye and said, "Old man, you're not welcome inside." Now, sitting here in Joe's diner, finishing my coffee, I realize something important. This isn't just about a wedding. This is about respect, about family, about the values I tried to instill in my daughter. Marcus thinks he's won. He thinks he's successfully erased me from Sarah's life, but he doesn't know something that Margaret taught me before she died. She said, "Robert, the truth always comes out. Always. And when it does, people have to choose who they really are." I'm not going to give up on my daughter. I'm not going to let Marcus destroy the relationship I spent 28 years building. And I'm definitely not going to let Sarah make the biggest mistake of her life without a fight. I paid for my coffee and walked out into the morning sun. I had work to do. The first thing I needed to do was understand exactly what kind of man my daughter was marrying, and I knew just the person who could help me. I drove across town to see Detective Ray Morrison, my old friend from high school. Ray had been with the police department for 30 years before retiring last year. If anyone could help me learn more about Marcus Williams, it was Ray. "Bobby Mitchell," Ray said when he opened his door. "What brings you to my neck of the woods?" "I need a favor, Ray, a big one." We sat on his back porch with beers, even though it was only 10 in the morning. Ray listened without interrupting as I told him everything that had happened. When I finished, Ray was quiet for a long time. "Bobby, what exactly are you asking me to do?" "I want to know who Marcus Williams really is. Not the version he shows Sarah, but who he really is." Ray took a long drink of his beer. "Bobby, you know I can't use official resources for personal matters." "I'm not asking you to break any laws, Ray. I'm asking you to help an old friend protect his daughter." Ray thought about it for a few minutes. "Tell you what, Bobby, I'll make some calls, ask around, see what I can find out through normal channels, but I'm not promising anything. That's all I ask, Ray. Just the truth." 2 days later, Ray called me. "Bobby, we need to talk." "Can you come over?" When I got to Ray's house, his expression told me he had found something. "Bobby, sit down. What I'm about to tell you isn't going to be easy to hear." "Just tell me, Ray." "Marcus Williams has a history. 3 years ago, he was engaged to another woman, Jennifer Collins. Ring any bells?" The name didn't sound familiar. Should it? Jennifer Collins was from a working-class family, just like Sarah. Her father was a mechanic. Her mother was a schoolteacher. Sound familiar? My blood started to run cold. What happened to Jennifer? According to what I could find out, Marcus dated Jennifer for 2 years. Then, 6 months before their wedding, he broke up with her, told her she wasn't suitable for his social circle. Ray pulled out a folder with some papers. But here's the interesting part. Jennifer's father tried to warn her about Marcus, tried to tell her he was using her. Jennifer chose Marcus over her family. And then Marcus dumped her anyway. Exactly. Left her with no fiancé and no family. Jennifer moved to another state, haven't heard from her since. I felt sick to my stomach. "Ray, are you telling me Marcus has done this before?" "Bobby, I think Marcus has a pattern. He finds women from working-class families, women who are ambitious and want to move up in the world. He makes them feel ashamed of their backgrounds. Then he discards them when they're no longer useful. But he's marrying Sarah. Is he? Bobby, have you seen the marriage license? Have you seen any legal documents?" I hadn't. In fact, now that I thought about it, Sarah had been very vague about the legal aspects of the wedding. "Ray, what are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting you find out if this wedding is even real, because from what I can tell, Marcus Williams has never filed for a marriage license in this county." The room started spinning. "Are you saying this whole wedding is fake?" "I'm saying you need to find out, and Bobby, there's something else." Ray pulled out another paper. "Marcus Williams is in financial trouble. Big trouble. His investment firm is being investigated for fraud. He's about to lose everything." "Then why is he spending money on a wedding?" "That's what you need to find out, Bobby. But I have a feeling this wedding isn't about love. It's about something else entirely." I left Ray's house with my head spinning. If what Ray had told me was true, then Sarah wasn't just making a mistake by marrying Marcus. She was walking into a trap. That night, I did something I hadn't done since Margaret died. I prayed. I prayed for wisdom, for strength, and for the right words to save my daughter. The next morning I decided to do something drastic. I was going to crash the wedding reception. Not to cause a scene, not to embarrass Sarah, but to tell her the truth about the man she had married. I put on my best suit, the same one I had worn to the church the day before, and drove to the country club. The reception was in full swing when I arrived. I could hear music and laughter coming from the main ballroom. I walked through the front door like I belonged there, like I was just another wedding guest arriving fashionably late. The first person I saw was Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who had received an invitation when I hadn't. "Robert, I was wondering where you were during the ceremony. Did you get held up?" "Something like that, Mrs. Patterson. How was the ceremony?" "Beautiful, just beautiful, though Sarah looked a bit nervous. I suppose all brides do." I made my way toward the ballroom, staying close to the walls, trying not to draw attention to myself. That's when I saw her. Sarah, in her white dress, looking absolutely beautiful. But Mrs. Patterson was right. She did look nervous. More than nervous. She looked scared. She was standing next to Marcus, who was holding court with a group of men in expensive suits, but her eyes kept darting around the room like she was looking for someone, like she was looking for me. I stayed hidden behind a pillar, watching my daughter. This should have been the happiest day of her life, but she looked miserable. Every time someone approached her to congratulate her, she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Every time Marcus put his arm around her, she seemed to shrink a little. That's when I noticed something else. The wedding party was small, just as Sarah had said, but I recognized most of the faces. They weren't Sarah's friends. They were Marcus's colleagues, his business associates, people from his social circle. Where were Sarah's college friends? Where were her co-workers from her old job? Where were the people who had actually been part of her life? I was so focused on watching Sarah that I almost didn't notice someone approaching me from behind. "Excuse me, sir, but I don't believe you're on the guest list." I turned around to see a security guard, a young man who looked like he took his job very seriously. "I'm Robert Mitchell," I said. "I'm the bride's father." The guard looked confused. "Sir, I was told specifically that the bride's father would not be attending." "Well, I'm here now. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." That's when I heard a voice I recognized. "It's okay, James. I'll handle this." Marcus Williams was walking toward us with that fake smile of his, but his eyes were cold as ice. "Mr. Mitchell, what a surprise. I thought I made it clear yesterday that you weren't welcome. I came to see my daughter." "Your daughter is busy celebrating her new life." "A life that doesn't include you." Marcus stepped closer to me, lowering his voice so only I could hear. "Old man, you need to leave now, or I'll have security escort you out. And trust me, that won't be pleasant for anyone." "I'm not leaving until I talk to Sarah." "Sarah doesn't want to talk to you. She's moved on from her old life, from her old family. She's part of my family now." That's when something inside me snapped. "Your family? You mean the family that's about to lose everything when your investment firm gets shut down for fraud?" Marcus's face went white. "What did you say?" "I know about your financial problems, Marcus. I know about Jennifer Collins. I know about your pattern of using women and then discarding them." Marcus looked around nervously, making sure no one else could hear us. "You don't know what you're talking about, old man." "Don't I? Then why don't we go ask Sarah what she knows about your business troubles? Let's see if she knows her new husband is about to be arrested." "You're bluffing." "Am I? Why don't we find out?" I started walking toward Sarah, but Marcus grabbed my arm. "Wait, what do you want?" "I want to talk to my daughter alone." Marcus looked around the room again. Sarah was still standing by the head table, still looking miserable. 5 minutes, Marcus said. 5 minutes and then you leave and never come back. Deal. Marcus walked over to Sarah and whispered something in her ear. She looked in my direction, and for a moment our eyes met. The expression on her face broke my heart. It wasn't anger or embarrassment. It was relief. Pure relief, like she had been waiting for me to show up. Sarah walked toward me slowly, her wedding dress rustling with each step. When she reached me, she didn't say anything at first. We just stood there looking at each other, father and daughter in the middle of her wedding reception. "Hi, Dad," she finally said, and her voice was so small, so vulnerable, that it reminded me of when she was 8 years old and scared of thunderstorms. "Hi, sweetheart. You look beautiful." "Dad, what are you doing here? Marcus said you didn't want to come." "Sarah, we need to talk. Somewhere private." She looked around the room nervously. "Dad, I can't. This is my wedding reception. I have guests." "Sarah, please, 5 minutes, that's all I ask." She hesitated, then nodded. "There's a small library down the hall. We can talk there." We walked through the country club in silence, Sarah's heels clicking on the marble floor. The library was empty, quiet, a stark contrast to the noise and celebration in the ballroom. Sarah sat down in one of the leather chairs, and I sat across from her. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Sarah broke the silence. "Dad, I'm sorry about yesterday, about the church. I wanted you there, I really did, but Marcus thought—" "Sarah, stop. Just stop." She looked at me with surprise. "What?" "Stop making excuses for him. Stop pretending this is what you want." "Dad, I don't know what you mean." "Sarah, I've been watching you for the past hour. You look miserable. This should be the happiest day of your life, and you look like you're at a funeral." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "Dad, it's just wedding nerves. All brides feel this way." "No, sweetheart. All brides don't feel this way. Your mother was radiant on our wedding day. She couldn't stop smiling. She was so happy she was practically glowing. Mom was different." "No, Sarah. Mom was marrying someone who loved her for who she was, not someone who wanted to change her into someone else." Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Dad, you don't understand. Marcus loves me." "Does he?" "Sarah, when was the last time Marcus asked about your dreams, your goals, your feelings? When was the last time he showed interest in your past, your childhood, your memories?" Sarah was quiet for a long time. "He's busy with work." "Sarah, I know about Marcus's work. I know about the investigation, the fraud charges, the financial problems." Sarah's face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that your new husband is about to lose everything. I'm talking about the fact that this might not even be a real marriage." "Dad, you're scaring me." "Good, you should be scared. Sarah, have you seen the marriage license? Have you seen any legal documents?" "Marcus handled all of that. He said it was easier if his lawyer took care of everything." "Sarah, I don't think you're legally married. I think this whole thing is a show." "That's impossible. We had a ceremony. There was a minister." "Sarah, anyone can put on a ceremony. But without the proper legal documents, it doesn't mean anything." Sarah stood up and started pacing around the small library. "Dad, why are you telling me this? Why are you trying to ruin my wedding day?" "Because I love you, sweetheart. Because I've spent the last 28 years protecting you, and I'm not going to stop now." "Protecting me from what?" "From making the biggest mistake of your life." "Sarah, Marcus doesn't love you. He's using you." "That's not true." "Then explain to me why none of your real friends are here. Explain to me why you look miserable on what should be the happiest day of your life. Explain to me why your husband didn't want your own father at your wedding." Sarah stopped pacing and looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Dad, I don't know what to believe anymore." "Then believe this. I love you. I have always loved you. And I will always love you no matter what mistakes you make, no matter how far you drift away from me. But Marcus said you were trying to control my life, that you couldn't accept that I was growing up." "Sarah, wanting to be part of your life isn't the same as controlling it. Loving you isn't the same as holding you back. Then why didn't you fight harder? Why didn't you try to stop this?" "Because I thought you were happy. I thought this was what you wanted. I was wrong." Sarah sat back down and put her face in her hands. "Dad, I'm so confused. I don't know what's real anymore." "Then let's find out together. Let's go ask Marcus some questions. Let's see how he reacts when you ask him about the marriage license, about his business troubles, about Jennifer Collins." Sarah looked up at me sharply. Who's Jennifer Collins? Ask Marcus. Ask him about his previous engagement, about what happened to Jennifer and her family. Dad, I'm scared. I know, sweetheart. But being scared is better than being deceived. We sat in silence for a few minutes, both of us thinking about what to do next. Then Sarah asked me something that broke my heart. Dad, if this is all true, if Marcus has been lying to me, what am I supposed to do? How do I face all those people out there? Sarah, you face them with dignity. You tell them the truth. And you remember that the people who really love you will support you no matter what. And if I've ruined everything? If I've destroyed our relationship for nothing? Sarah, you could never destroy our relationship. You're my daughter. You're part of my heart. Nothing Marcus or anyone else does can change that. Dad, I've been so awful to you. I said terrible things. I excluded you from the most important day of my life. Sarah, you were being manipulated by someone who knew exactly how to use your ambitions against you. That's not your fault. But I should have known better. I should have trusted you. Sarah, you're 28 years old. You're supposed to make your own decisions, even if they're wrong sometimes. That's how you learn, how you grow. But this mistake is so big, Dad. If you're right about Marcus, then I've ruined everything. Sarah, the only way you can ruin everything is by staying in a situation that's wrong for you because you're too proud to admit you made a mistake. What should I do? What does your heart tell you to do? Sarah was quiet for a long time, thinking. Then she said, My heart tells me that something has been wrong for a long time. My heart tells me that I haven't been happy, really happy, since I started dating Marcus. Then listen to your heart. But Dad, what if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong about Marcus? Then we'll deal with that too. But Sarah, I'd rather be wrong about Marcus than wrong about protecting my daughter. Sarah stood up and walked to the window. Outside we could see the country club's garden, where some of the wedding guests were taking pictures. Dad, will you help me figure this out? Of course, sweetheart. That's what fathers are for. Even after everything I've done? Even after I excluded you from my wedding? Sarah, you could exclude me from 100 weddings, and I would still be here when you needed me. Sarah turned around and looked at me with tears in her eyes. Dad, I think I need to ask Marcus some questions. Are you sure you're ready for his answers? No, but I need to know the truth. Then let's go find out. We walked back toward the ballroom together, father and daughter, about to face whatever truth was waiting for us. As we approached the main reception area, I could see Marcus talking animatedly with a group of his business associates. He looked relaxed, confident, like a man who had everything under control. That was about to change. Sarah walked up to Marcus with me right behind her. Marcus, I need to talk to you. Marcus looked at me with obvious annoyance. Sarah, I thought your father was leaving. He is my father, Marcus, and I need to ask you some questions. The group of men Marcus had been talking to sensed tension and started to drift away. Sarah, this isn't the time or place for questions. We're celebrating. Marcus, have you filed our marriage license with the county? Marcus's confident expression faltered slightly. Of course I have. My lawyer handled all of that. What's your lawyer's name? I want to call him and confirm. Sarah, why would you want to do that? Don't you trust me? Marcus, just give me his name. Marcus looked around nervously. Sarah, you're being ridiculous. This is our wedding day. Why are you acting like this? Because my father told me some things that I need to verify. Your father is a bitter old man who can't accept that you've moved on with your life. That's when I stepped forward. Marcus, why don't you tell Sarah about Jennifer Collins? The color drained from Marcus's face. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Your previous fiancée. The one you dumped 6 months before your wedding because she wasn't suitable for your social circle. Sarah looked back and forth between Marcus and me. Marcus, who is Jennifer Collins? Sarah, your father is making things up. He's trying to ruin our wedding. Then it should be easy to prove him wrong. Just tell me who Jennifer Collins is. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, and in that silence Sarah got her answer. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. It's true, isn't it? Sarah, let me explain. Explain what? That you've done this before, that you have a pattern of using women and then discarding them? Sarah, you're different. What Jennifer and I had was nothing compared to what we have. What do we have, Marcus? Because right now I'm not even sure we're legally married. Of course we're married. We had a ceremony. But did you file the paperwork? Are we legally married in the eyes of the law? Marcus didn't answer, and his silence was deafening. Sarah turned to look at me, and I could see the realization dawning in her eyes. Dad, you were right, weren't you? This whole thing is fake. Sarah, I think we need to find out for sure. Why don't we call the county clerk's office right now? That's not necessary, Marcus said quickly. Sarah, you're overreacting. So what if there was a delay in filing the paperwork? We can take care of that tomorrow. A delay? Marcus, did you file our marriage license or not? Sarah, there were some complications with the paperwork. My lawyer said it would be easier to handle it after the wedding. What kind of complications? Legal complications that you wouldn't understand. Try me. Marcus looked around the room. By now, several wedding guests had noticed the tension and were starting to stare. Sarah, can we discuss this privately? No. I want to discuss it right here, right now, in front of everyone. Sarah, you're embarrassing yourself. I'm embarrassing myself. Marcus, I think you're the one who should be embarrassed. That's when Mrs. Patterson, who had been listening to the conversation, spoke up. Excuse me, but did I hear correctly? Are you saying this wedding isn't legal? Marcus shot her a look that could have killed. Mrs. Patterson, this is a private family matter. Well, if it's a family matter, then shouldn't Sarah's father be part of the discussion? Mrs. Patterson looked at me with sympathy. Robert, I was wondering why you weren't at the ceremony. Now I understand. Other guests were starting to gather around us, sensing drama. Marcus realized he was losing control of the situation. Sarah, we need to talk privately. Now. No, Marcus. I'm done with private conversations. I'm done with secrets. I want the truth, and I want it now. Fine. You want the truth? The truth is that I was trying to protect you. Protect me from what? From making a legal commitment before you were ready. Sarah, marriage is a big step. I thought it would be better if we had a trial period first. A trial period? Marcus, what are you talking about? I'm talking about making sure we're compatible before we make it legal. Sarah stared at Marcus like she was seeing him for the first time. You mean you never intended to actually marry me? I mean, I wanted to be sure. Sure of what? Sure that you could fit into my world. Sure that you could leave your old life behind completely. The room was completely quiet now. Everyone was listening to this conversation, watching this drama unfold. My old life? You mean my father? My family? Sarah, your father represents everything you're trying to move away from. He's holding you back. Holding me back from what? From becoming the woman you're meant to be. That's when Sarah did something that made me proud of her for the first time in months. She took off her engagement ring and threw it at Marcus's feet. The woman I'm meant to be doesn't abandon her family for a man who's ashamed of her background. Sarah, you're making a mistake. Yes, I am. I'm making the mistake of staying here one more second. Sarah turned to me. Dad, will you take me home? Of course, sweetheart. As we started to walk away, Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm. Sarah, if you leave now, don't bother coming back. I won't give you another chance. Sarah looked at Marcus's hand on her arm, then looked him in the eye. Good, because I wouldn't take it. We walked out of the country club together, leaving behind a room full of shocked guests and one very angry fake groom. In the parking lot, Sarah finally broke down. She cried like she hadn't cried since she was a little girl, and I held her like I used to when she had nightmares. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. Sarah, you don't have anything to apologize for. Yes, I do. I chose him over you. I believed his lies about you being controlling, about you holding me back. Sarah, you were manipulated by someone who was very good at manipulation. But I should have known better. I should have trusted you. Sarah, you're human. Humans make mistakes. The important thing is that you figured out the truth before it was too late. But what if it is too late? What if I've ruined everything? Sarah, the only thing that would be ruined is if you stayed with someone who didn't value you for who you are. We sat in my car for a long time, Sarah still in her wedding dress, both of us trying to process what had just happened. Dad, what am I going to do now? I quit my old job to work at Marcus's firm. I gave up my apartment to move in with him. I don't have anything left. Sarah, you have the most important thing of all. You have your integrity, you have your self-respect, and you have a father who loves you. But I don't have a job. I don't have a place to live. I don't have anything. Sarah, you have skills, you have experience, you have intelligence. Those things don't disappear just because you made a mistake. Dad, can I ask you something? Anything, sweetheart. Can I come home just for a while until I figure things out? Sarah, that house is your home. It will always be your home. You don't need to ask permission to come home. We drove back to my house in comfortable silence. When we pulled into the driveway, Sarah looked at the house like she was seeing it for the first time. Dad, this house isn't outdated or embarrassing. It's home. Yes, it is. And you're not controlling or holding me back. You're just a father who loves his daughter. That's all I've ever been, Sarah. We went inside and Sarah went upstairs to change out of her wedding dress. When she came back down, she was wearing an old pair of jeans and one of my old sweaters, and she looked more like herself than she had in months. Dad, I need to ask you something else. What's that? How did you know? How did you know Marcus was wrong for me? Because I know you, Sarah. I know when you're happy and when you're pretending to be happy. And with Marcus, you were always pretending. I thought I was being mature, sophisticated. Sarah, there's nothing mature about being ashamed of where you come from. There's nothing sophisticated about cutting your family out of your life. I know that now. We spent the rest of the evening talking, really talking, for the first time in months. Sarah told me about how Marcus had gradually isolated her from her friends, how he had made her feel ashamed of her background, how he had convinced her that I was holding her back from her potential. Dad, he was so subtle about it. He never said outright that you were a bad person. He just made little comments, little suggestions that made me doubt myself, doubt you. That's how manipulation works, Sarah. It's not obvious. It's gradual, insidious. How did you figure it out? Because I know you and I know love. Real love doesn't ask you to choose between your partner and your family. Real love doesn't make you ashamed of who you are. Dad, I'm scared about what happens next. What do you mean? I mean, what if people think I'm a failure? What if they think I can't make good decisions? Sarah, the people whose opinions matter will respect you for having the courage to walk away from a bad situation. And the people whose opinions don't matter, you stop caring what they think. The next morning, Sarah woke up early and made breakfast for both of us, something she hadn't done since she was in high school. As we sat at the kitchen table eating pancakes, she asked me something that surprised me. Dad, do you think I can get my old job back? I don't know, sweetheart, but I think it's worth asking. Will you come with me? If you want me to. I do. I want people to see that I'm proud of my father, proud of where I come from. We drove to Sarah's old office together. Tom Bradley, her former boss, was surprised to see us. Sarah, Robert, what brings you here? Sarah took a deep breath. Tom, I made a mistake. A big mistake. I left here for the wrong reasons and I was wondering if there might be a chance to come back. Tom looked at Sarah carefully. Sarah, what happened to your new job? What happened to the wedding? The wedding was yesterday and it was a disaster. The job was a mistake. Tom, I was wrong to leave the way I did. I was wrong to say the things I said about this being a small family business. Sarah, this is a small family business. I know, and that's what makes it special. That's what I lost sight of. Tom smiled. Sarah, we've missed you here. Your replacement is nice, but she's not you. Does that mean... It means we'd love to have you back. When can you start? Tomorrow? Tomorrow it is. As we left Tom's office, Sarah was practically glowing. Dad, I can't believe he took me back. I can. Tom's a good man, and he knows a good employee when he sees one. Dad, I have an idea. What's that? What if we had lunch together once a week, like a standing date, father and daughter time? I'd love that, Sarah. And Dad? Next time I'm thinking about making a big life decision, will you promise to tell me if you think I'm making a mistake? Sarah, I'll always give you my honest opinion, but the decisions are yours to make. I know, but I want your input. I want your wisdom. You have it, sweetheart. You've always had it. 6 months later, Sarah and I were having our weekly lunch at Joe's Diner. She had been back at her old job and was happier than I'd seen her in years. She had also started dating someone new, a teacher named David, who thought it was wonderful that she was close to her father. Dad, I got some interesting news yesterday, Sarah said as we shared a piece of pie. What's that? I ran into Jennifer Collins. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. Jennifer Collins, Marcus's ex-fiancée. The same one. She moved back to town last month. How is she? She's doing well now, but she told me some things about Marcus that made my blood run cold. Like what? Like the fact that he did the same thing to her that he tried to do to me. isolated her from her family, made her ashamed of her background, then dumped her when she was no longer useful. Did she ever find out why he dumped her? Oh yes. Turns out Marcus was already engaged to someone else, someone from his social circle. Jennifer was just a placeholder until he could convince the other woman to marry him. So he was planning to do the same thing to you. Exactly. Jennifer said she tried to warn the other woman, but she wouldn't listen. That woman married Marcus 6 months after he dumped Jennifer. And how did that work out? They divorced within a year. Apparently Marcus's business troubles caught up with him, and his wife left him when the money ran out. So Marcus is alone now? According to Jennifer, yes, and facing fraud charges. Turns out his business practices were even worse than we thought. Sarah took a sip of her coffee. Dad, Jennifer said something else that really stuck with me. What's that? She said that the worst part wasn't losing Marcus. The worst part was losing her family. Her father died 2 years ago, and they never reconciled. She never got the chance to apologize to make things right. Sarah reached across the table and took my hand. Dad, I'm so grateful that I figured things out before it was too late. I'm so grateful that you didn't give up on me. Sarah, I would never give up on you. You're my daughter. I know that now. But I also know how close I came to losing you forever. But you didn't lose me. You came home. Yes, I did. And Dad? What, sweetheart? I'm never leaving again. Not like that. Not for anyone. Sarah, you might leave again someday. You might get married, have children, build a life somewhere else. And that's okay, as long as you remember that this will always be your home, and I will always be your father. I'll remember, Dad. I promise. As we finished our lunch and prepared to leave, Sarah asked me one more question. Dad, do you think I'll ever be able to trust my judgment again? When it comes to relationships, I mean. Sarah, you trusted your judgment when you walked away from Marcus. You trusted your judgment when you came home. Your judgment is fine. But I made such a big mistake. Sarah, making mistakes doesn't mean your judgment is bad. It means you're human. The important thing is that you learn from your mistakes. What did I learn? You learned that real love doesn't ask you to choose between your partner and your family. You learned that anyone who wants you to be ashamed of where you come from isn't worth your time. You learned that your father's love is unconditional. Yes, I did learn all of that. Then the mistake was worth it. As we walked out of Joe's diner together, I thought about how much had changed in 6 months. Sarah was back to being herself, back to being the daughter I had raised. She was confident, happy, and most importantly, she was home. That evening, as I sat on my porch watching the sunset, I thought about Margaret and what she would say about everything that had happened. I think she would be proud of both Sarah and me, proud of Sarah for having the courage to admit her mistake and come home, proud of me for not giving up on our daughter. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Sarah. Dad, I just wanted to call and say thank you. For what, sweetheart? For loving me enough to fight for me, for not letting me make the biggest mistake of my life. Sarah, that's what fathers do. I know, and that's what makes you the best father in the world. As I hung up the phone, I smiled. Margaret had been right about so many things, but she had been especially right about this. The truth always comes out, and when it does, people have to choose who they really are. Sarah chose to be my daughter. She chose to come home. She chose love over status, family over false promises, and I chose to be the father she needed, even when it was hard, even when it hurt. Now, as I sit here telling you this story, I want you to know that it's never too late to come home. It's never too late to choose family over everything else. It's never too late to remember who you really are. So tell me, what would you have done in my place? Would you have given up on your child, or would you have fought for them? And please, let me know what city you're listening from, because I'd love to know that this story is reaching people all over the world. People who understand that family is the most important thing we have.